You have been very critical of housing policies of this government and the last government. But when you look at 160 pages of this, there really is something for everyone in the audience, is there not?
Unfortunately not. In fact, the vast majority of the 160 pages are padding, but when you actually scratch beneath the kind of bloated figures that have been used in the press conference yesterday, and you look at the actual delivery, particularly of affordable homes over the coming years, this plan is deeply disappointing. Next year, we're only going to get, at the very top end, 2,000 genuinely affordable homes. We might get 3,000 to 3,500 the year after, and thereon in it'll hit about 4,000. That's nowhere close to the level of need that people desperately seeking to buy their own home, or those people stuck with very high rents out there, are looking for. And likewise for renters. There really is nothing new. The claim that they're going to introduce tenancies of indefinite duration is misleading. There's nothing to stop rising rents.
Why is that misleading? I've been looking at, there's a whole page, a panel, page 46 of the report, which gives increased protections for tenants in private rental accommodation. And it goes from 2.1 to 2.14 measures.
So the key claim, which is false in the document, is that the government are going to introduce tenancies of indefinite duration. To do that, you have to abolish sale of property and use of property by a landlord or their family member for issuing a notice to quit. They're the two largest causes of NTQs. Mm-hmm. That's not what the government are proposing. They're proposing a minor technical change to the Residential Tenancies Act, which, while welcome, is actually responsible for virtually no evictions or notice to quit currently.
Yeah, but Eoin, let me just put this to you. If the government decided that they were going to have, and I looked at this at face value, I agree with you about the verbiage throughout the report. It's very difficult to get to the meat and potatoes of things when there's an awful lot of gravy poured over every page, more or less. But if you were to have indefinite tenancies, in other words, someone has a property and irrespective of family circumstance and so on, they could never sell it because there's a sitting tenant, or they'd have to sell it with a sitting tenant in, which would lower its value, as you know. There would be a flight out of the rental market at whatever consequence.
Well, first of all, my point is the government is claiming it's doing something it's not. So they're not going to introduce tenancies of indefinite duration. Obviously, the debate about whether they're a good thing or a bad thing is another issue. I'm strongly in favour of them. They exist in almost every other stable rental market in the country. And indeed, in the commercial sector, if you rent a commercial premises, then irrespective of whether the owner wants to sell or not, your tenancy is protected. So the government can't, on the one hand, say it's going to introduce tenancies of indefinite protection when it's not, nor can it say it's going to protect.
Hang on a second. You can't just say that. Sometimes there are leases in the commercial sector. It used to be 2 years and 9 months or whatever. It may have changed. But there are situations where at the end of a period, the tenant may have the right to attempt to negotiate. The owner may want to get out or might love to keep the tenant in place. But there are break clauses in these. So it's not fair to say that in the commercial sector you can squat, if you like, on a commercial premises.
No, that's not what I'm saying, Pat. But again, we're here talking about the government's plan, and my criticism of this plan is many of the things it's claiming, such as, for example, tenancies of indefinite duration or measures to protect renters from rising rents aren't actually in the plan. So whether it's social housing, affordable housing, renters or homelessness, the big claims that were made yesterday, and Paul will be about to make now, when you scratch beneath the surface and see the actual facts, unfortunately, what this government is doing is repeating the same failed housing policies of the last 5 years, which is what got us into the crisis in the first place.
I've gone through the thing with some difficulty, and there is something for everyone in the audience, in the sense there's a whole section on disability, housing for people with disability, housing for
all of which was in Rebuilding
people.
Ireland and was never delivered.